back to Amnicon Studio. My name is Marcy. I am a crafter and a gardener in northern Wisconsin. Okay, so it has been a little over a week since I last recorded a Flosstube. I have probably about as much to share on this one than I do the last one. First thing I would like to share is the flea market flowers that I'm doing as Sal with Mair over at Sin City Cross Stitcher and Alison over at Miss AZ Family Zoo. This was a chart that I've had in my stash for probably 5 years, ever since it first came out. And as soon as I saw it, I could very easily picture it on white Aida, so that is what I'm working on it. It is 14 count Aida from Hobby Lobby, called for DMC floss. I started it on March 1st, and Alison took the time to break the chart into 12 parts. So it's a 12-month stitch along, and I finished March. Actually, I think within like 7 days. I wrote it down in my book of days, but I don't have my book of days with me. So this is where I am so far with it. I thought the flower part was going to take forever on the inside. What I did was I started with the border, and then I made the flower petals, and then I started working on the inside. And what I did was the lighter pink, I decided to stitch that first before stitching the darker pink. I think only once I had to rip back, and that was because counting is hard. I got, I think, almost all of this done until I got to about right here, and then something was off by a stitch, and I could not figure out what was wrong with it until I realized that I wasn't counting the border that I had already stitched. So I had to rip a bunch out, put it back in, redo it, and I was really glad to have this section done. And I don't think, oh yeah, there's gonna be a few more that are a little bit similar to this, and I just gotta remind myself that if I did the border first, I gotta remember to keep track of that. So that is the first project that I have been working on for this month. I'm keeping it in a project bag that I made myself. I thought it was appropriate since it's flowers and I'm working on a chart with flowers in it. The next project that I want to share, was a start and a finish in one evening, and then a few days later I FFO'd it. The project is called Lucky by Primrose Cottage. It was a freebie in their cross-stitch newsletter for February. Now I'm not sure which newsletter, which month it came out in, but it was a freebie. I used the DMC conversion. Don't you hate when you do something and then you can't remember if you did it? I can't remember if I shared this, and I might have just done it. So I started and finished it on March 6th, 2026. I'm not sure the day that I FFO'd it. You know, I used the project bag that I made for St. Patrick's Day. And I will say that I completed this chart so quick that I didn't even get a chance to use the needle minder that I made to go with this. I thought that was just really funny. I think the chart is, I want to say like 500 and some odd stitches, because I was able to import it into Pattern Keeper. And once I realized how many stitches it was, I thought maybe I can get this done in one evening, and sure enough, I did. So that, oh, and Oh, can you tell it's the end of the week? So I dyed the fabric. That was fabric that I shared in the last Flosstube. And I FFO'd it into a pillow using the same fabric that I used for the bag, but it seemed appropriate. Does anybody have any tips for filling the corners on these pillows? Because no matter what I do, the little bit of stuffing I get in always seems to fall out when I'm finishing the pillow. That would be so much appreciated. And if I'm sure I'm going to make this again at some point down the road. Well, with this fabric, I kind of wish that I'd gone with a different green, one that was maybe a little bit more vibrant, but this is a nice color too. I mean, I'm very happy with it, but you know how 2020 is. I would have done that in a brighter green. So that is my FFO for the day, which I swear this is probably like a once a year thing that I'd be able to get one started, finished, and FFO'd in such a short amount of time. And then the third cross stitch piece that I'm going to share is a chart that I started on a Sunday, on a snowy Sunday that wasn't as snowy as it was promised to be. I've had this chart in my collection for probably the same amount of years as the flea market flowers. It is Springtime Social by Brenda Gervais. I saw this chart and I fell in love with it, and I think this is the very first chart that I ever purchased. And I got it from Brenda Gervais' website, which is Country Stitches Online. I remember sending an email and asking if she still sold this chart because I didn't see it on the website, and she said whoever answered the email said they did and directed me to it, which was very kind. Springtime Social, I'm using the called for colors, 14 count Aida fabric, and I'm using the Easter project bag that I made because, again, I thought it was appropriate, and the matching thread bed. And the fabric I dyed myself because I'm getting more and more comfortable with doing that. And when did I say I started that? March 15th. Sorry, I thought I heard something. And here I am so far. Started in the center with the basket, and then I made the egg, and then the jacket, and the cute little breeches, and then I made the bunny body. And last night I started the outline of the rooster, and this morning I finished that off because I had to rip a little bit out right here because counting is hard, and I was interrupted when I was stitching this, and when I came back I looked at the wrong spot in the chart. The chart is nice and big, but I didn't think to grab anything to kind of mark my place on there, so that I lost my place. Sorry, I just realized that there's a lot of bright light coming in right there. So that's the cross stitch. The next thing I want to share is my Armande cardigan that I've been working on for a while, since the start of the year. I forgot to grab the project card for it. I know I have one, but it's somewhere in the mess that is the craft room. I am using Red Heart yarn in the saffron colorway. The model is knit in a yellow mustardy color, and I decided I wanted to make one very similar to it. Now I'm gonna include a picture of the project somewhere here, so you'll have a better idea of what it's looking like, because I am, oh, that doesn't show. I have separated for the arm sleeves, and I'm working on the left side right now, and you can't really tell anything by what I'm doing. I reached, I can't remember which point before deciding to stop. I worked on this last weekend. I think it was the week of the snowstorm. I decided to give it a lot of attention. Oops. And I made a lot of progress. I am way past the increases and the button bands all done. And I would just like to keep cruising along on it, because I feel like I've reached a point where I could just be done with it within a couple of days if I just devote all my crafting time to it. So it would be just in time. It would be just in time for spring. Well, spring in northern Wisconsin is a lot cooler than a lot of places. So, I mean, I think last year I was still wearing sweaters in the summer because I'm weird like that. And then the next thing that I want to share is the progress on my vanilla sock, which I am knitting out of Patton's Cry Sock yarn in the blue striped rag colorway. I have finished decreasing for the instep. And now I'm on the foot, and I can just zoom knit until it's time to start decreasing for the toe. I'll probably put a picture up as well for this so you have a better idea of what this looks like. But yeah, this one's turning out very well. I've actually been knitting on this in the house rather than in the car. And then the last thing to share is my crochet, which my Battenberg squares, I have not been working on them. My wrist has been giving me fits, so I have eased up on the crochet a little bit, which is why I only have one square for my Maeve cardigan, my Maeve crochet along that I'm doing with Kat over at Stitching with the Griffin. Wow. I thought I was ready for this. I guess maybe I wasn't, because my brain keeps resetting. But here is square number 6, I think, for my crochet along. And I haven't decided which color I'm going to work on next. And I guess all that's left is the life update, which, if you follow my blog, which I forgot to announce at the beginning of the video, again, I blog at amnaconstudio.blogspot.com. I have an Instagram account. I'm Amnacon Studio over there. And I wrote more recently about the winter storm that hit Wisconsin fairly not too long ago. Now, I live in northern Wisconsin on the western side, up near Lake Superior. The weather forecasters kept saying, oh, we could get 12 to 36 inches. And here's the thing, like a lot of times they're wrong. I know, right? That's a shock. A lot of times they're wrong, but you know, the times that you don't take it seriously is the times that they absolutely nailed it and you regret not listening to them. And it happens just frequently enough that you just have to go by what they say, even though you have your doubts, because I had my doubts about this one. I kept seeing, you know, it's the storm of the year, storm of the century. We haven't had a storm this bad in years, decades, whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't know, but okay. And then the closer we got to it, I thought, okay, well, maybe we should be prepared just in case, and you know, made sure there was plenty of wood in the house, plenty of wood right outside the door, which you can't see it, but we keep a trailer out by the front door that is full of wood, and then when the wood inside the house is down, we refill from that. When that's empty, we go to the wood piles and we get more wood. And it's a really good system for us. It works very well. We ran to the store, got things that we thought we might need just in case we wouldn't be able to drive to town for like a week. And we waited. And what day was it? Saturday. I think it was kind of like the calm before the storm. It was absolutely beautiful. And I think there's a video on my channel and it's linked over to my blog about what a beautiful day it was. The temperature was great. I'm sure you can see water is still dripping off my roof because it's currently like 45, 46 degrees out and beautiful. And so we didn't know what we were going to wake up to on Sunday. And Sunday I got up, looked out the window and went, wow, there is hardly any snow here. So like, was it supposed to start later in the day? I thought it was supposed to start at midnight. No, it was kind of like a steady light snow all day until it finally broke, I don't know, maybe like 3 p.m. And we finally went out and did some snow removal and pushed some snow around, and my husband cleared the driveway. I mean, it was enough snow to be a menace, but barely enough snow to really warrant pulling out like the snow blower and all that. Earlier in the day, I said to my husband, I don't know how I feel about this, because granted, I did not want a lot of snow, but at the same time, they kind of keyed us up for having all this snow, and my husband was kind of excited we have a snow blower for the tractor, and he hasn't had a chance to like really run it through its paces yet. So he was kind of disappointed about that. Meanwhile, my friends over on the east side of the state got absolutely hammered. And my one friend who lives up over by Green Bay, I'd say, what was it, like 4 days? She wasn't able to, before the city, state, town, village plows went by and cleared her road. And then her neighbor was able to come and take care of her driveway for her. Yeah, it was bad. And I cannot remember which designer it was, came up with a design of like Winter Storm LC Survivor 2026 cross-stitch chart. And I didn't know they named winter storms. I really didn't. But I don't feel that I'm qualified to stitch up that chart, even though my area was sort of affected by it. So no major snowstorm for us. But I appreciate and wanted to say thank you to everybody who reached out to me wondering how things were and if I was okay. We were absolutely fine. It was kind of a much to do about nothing. Let's see. I've been having really good response to my garden journals, and I wanted to say thank you to everybody who is checking them out. My last garden journal video, I have over 200 views as of, well, today's the first day of spring. So that is the 20th, I think. And I don't normally put the dates in these videos because I want them to feel kind of timeless, but yeah, I was just kind of blown away. Other people must want to see green and grow plants and flowers and vegetables as badly as I do. And I think that is wonderful. And I'm still just kind of surprised by how well that video is doing because usually, I'm not gonna lie, next to my blog videos, my garden videos don't do so great. But apparently I hit on something there. And I'm working on a couple of non-crafty type projects. Nothing that I really want to share about right now, but I will say that when I'm happy with what I've done, you may see some changes in the videos that I create. I don't want to say much more than that because I'm not sure how far I'm willing to take this, but I am learning some new skills because I'm itching to learn something new and kind of stretch my brain cells a little bit, I guess. So that is going to be fun and frustrating at the same time, I'm sure. That is everything for this episode. I wanted to say thank you to those of you who return time and time again and share in my enthusiasm for all the crafty things. Until next time, bye.